Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Ben and I'm a self-taught web developer who went from zero to paid full stack in 8 months studying the Odin project. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about whether or not I would hire someone who just does tutorial projects and has that on their resume. So you've probably built something in React. Maybe you've built a to-do list, a weather app, or one of those other very common tutorials. Maybe it's a social media clone like Twitter or something like that. Is that enough for you to go out there, hand out your resume, and expect to get into interviews and hired for a position as a web developer? I think if I was to answer that in short, I would say probably not, though like everything, it always depends. And I'm just going to elaborate on that a little bit more right now. So you might be asking, what exactly is wrong with tutorial projects? The thing is most people build the same things. Most people do the same tutorials. So when you build a tutorial-based resume, you're not really going to stand out because everybody has a weather app, everybody has a to-do app, everybody has a journaling app or a calculator or a social media clone, right? So the game here is against all this competition is you need to have something that makes you stand out. And with these tutorials, a lot of the time you are going to YouTube, you have a blog in front of you, and you're going step by step to build something. And don't get me wrong, this does have some value, especially if you're new to a piece of technology. It's nice to just see, okay, this is how it works. This is how this person's approached the problem. I'm going to follow that, and therefore I understand a little bit about how this technology works. But it removes a lot of the thinking from A to B from you because you're just following a set of instructions. Think of it like baking a cake. If you follow a set of instructions or a recipe, as it is when you're baking a cake, you didn't create the cake. You just followed the instructions. And even then you might mess it up, right? But creating a cake from scratch is way harder. It means you need to understand the fundamentals of baking. And it's the same with software. And one of the big things with tutorials, there's very little evidence of you decision making. You cannot really explain why a certain library was used, why a certain implementation in the code was used, because you're just following a tutorial. Now, if you go extra steps, it might help you out a little bit there, and I will touch on that in a second. So you may be wondering, what exactly, if tutorials aren't enough, what exactly are hiring managers looking for? And hiring managers really want to know that you have the ability to think through a problem from A to B, shipping from an idea all the way through to a finished solution in production. And that's no easy feat, okay? You need to be able to understand trade-offs. Are we going to build this thing quickly with perhaps concessions in code quality just so it gets out in a more timely manner? Are we going to use this library, or are we going to build something from scratch? Why? What are the trade-offs here? Do we want to take on this little bit of technical debt right now, knowing that it may or may not get addressed in the future? Is it worth it? Is the trade-off worth it? You need to be able to understand these things and show that you can understand these things. Another big thing about hiring somebody is you want to know that you can give them a problem without too much detail and trust that they will be able to bring a solution to you, or at least be able to think through and get somewhere with minimal supervision. Now, obviously, the lower you are on the ranking of software engineers, if you're at junior level, you're going to require a little more input, and it's less input as you go up towards senior, obviously. But as a junior, you still need to have a level of autonomy. If I'm hiring you, I need to know I don't have to handhold you on every single thing and teach you the basics and the fundamentals. Okay, and if you just do tutorials, I can't quite be confident that that will be the case. And you know, a bonus thing that you might have on any project that you make is a clear README, maybe a Loom, a video that gives a short walkthrough, showing the code, explaining it, demoing the app, explaining why you made certain decisions and trade-offs in the code. Okay, so if you are doing tutorials, there are ways that you might be able to level these up, and I alluded to this earlier. So if you're following a tutorial that's building, let's say, a social media clone, add in some additional features to this. Okay, don't just follow the tutorial and then say, okay, done. Think about, okay, as a user, how would I use this? What would I like to see here that's not present? How about I go and build that, add some layers on? This is then going to prove that you can think from idea all the way through to implementation. You're going to have to make considerations and concessions about how you're going to build this, but you don't want to spend 6 months on it or a year, right? You got to build something that works in a time frame that works for you, and you're going to have to make trade-offs and be able to explain those. Maybe if it's connecting to an API, connect to an API of your choice, okay, or at least to different endpoints that are getting different data, and manipulate that and use that in your app in a different way that's not in the tutorial. You could also focus on, if you're front-end heavy, UX, UI, improving that beyond what the tutorial has, and having reasons for why you made those improvements. And then even better, deploy it somewhere, which then shows that you have the ability to also get code into production, into somewhere that someone can use it. So if I'm clicking around on a resume and I click on a link, well, then I can play in your app right there and then. Okay, I think these things will really level up a tutorial beyond where they are at base level. So I'm consulting with my notes here. Would I hire someone with just tutorial projects? Probably not. Would I hire someone with tutorial projects on steroids? Depends on what kind of steroids they're using. Obviously steroids are bad, but you get the illusion here. I think if you build something that's really cool based on a tutorial, then thumbs up. That's going to look really good. If you're just changing a couple colors here and there in the UI, it's not really going to look too impressive. And I've always said in my own videos, if you really want to stand out, take an idea of somebody that you know, somebody who's having a problem, and solve it with code. Build them a small web app that they can then use on the day-to-day and get real users for it. My example was a dog adoption website, super basic, but it has real users, it's processed real dog adoptions, and that was something I came up with completely by myself. And as basic as it was, it showed initiative, it showed autonomy, it showed my ability to solve a problem with code, to consider trade-offs. I could talk about this until I was blue in the face in an interview, and I talked about it with passion. That's what's going to make you stand out. If you have troubles understanding what a good idea might be, let's discuss in the comments, because I may not have ideas for you, but I can help you figure out what a good idea might be. And it just has to be something really simple. You know, a project that might take you a couple months to build. We're not talking 6, 12, beyond months. Okay, something really small, tight, and compact that you can show somebody and impress them with. So yeah, don't spend all your time just on tutorials. Okay, if your resume is just a tutorial list, then you might want to consider going back to those and improving those projects, or building something net new, an idea that you've come up with. And then I think you will stand out far more among your competition, and it'll be way more impressive. And I think it will really increase your chances of landing your first role. This is just my opinions. I don't hire developers, though I have hired people in the past, in my past career, and there are things that are very common across fields that you look for when you're hiring people. Everything I've discussed in this video is very common across many other fields. Can I give you a problem and be confident that you're going to at least give a very good effort in solving it without me having to feed tons and tons of input, which is going to take me away from other tasks, or if not me, other people, other colleagues. Okay, good luck, and let me know what you're working on down below in the comments. Have a good one. Bye-bye.